Guitar Techniques magazine people. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it. I got to tell you, the track was very interesting for me. It wasn't exactly my normal thing, and I thought I'd try to do a little something different instead of playing it with a, more of a fusion-y kind of guitar tone. I thought that I would use just a nice clean tone that I get out of this ES350. This is a 1951 Gibson ES350. This is the full size one with the regular 25.5-inch scale, not the 350T. And the track was kind of interesting. Lots of triads and lots of triad over various bass notes. And so my strategy for this was, when I first listened to it, I felt like it was a little bit like an obstacle course. So I had to do something that I really wanted to do, which was to find melodies in this thing, because the chords aren't, there aren't any cadences, normal cadences. They're just sort of one chord that's a sound followed by another chord that's a sound. I think there's a musical term for that, but I don't exactly know what it is. But it wasn't exactly like a bunch of 2-5-1s, if you know what I mean. So what I decided to do is I decided to listen to the track without my guitar and see if I could find a through melody, because I'm really interested in melody more than anything else. So once I did that, I had a sense of it. There were some rhythmical kicks in there that I had to really make sure I was going to be able to play or avoid or not, but not stomp all over. So I did that, and then I picked up my guitar. And the first thing I noticed, the first time I went through it, I didn't want to play it a whole bunch. I wanted it to be much, somewhat fresh when I recorded the performance. But I noticed I was kind of, playing each chord sound individually. And so I tried to think about, well, what can I do to blend it together so that there's a through line? And one thing I noticed is that I could put it into pairs of chords. So the very first sound of, some kind of C over D to B flat over E flat. See if I can make a melody that flows through those two chords rather than addressing each one individually, because that was relatively doable but didn't satisfy my ear. So I tried to do, something along those lines. And because they're triads, I wanted to really see what I could do to make melody, and that was a real challenge, because the triads are they can just, if we're not careful, just sit there and run them up and down or something. So then what did I do? I tried to investigate rhythmical things inside. So the bass line in this track has a lot of very neat rhythms that I tried to use as touchstones and maybe motifs. So that's kind of my mental approach to it. There's no fancy stuff going on. It's just a guitar, a chord straight into a Princeton reverb amp with a little bit of reverb on it, and that's it. So I didn't have anything to hide behind, or not that we would, but I don't blame anybody for using cool effects. I just chose not to on this particular track. So then what was I doing? I tried to play a few little double stops, those kinds of things to break things up. I tried to make the arpeggiated lines I have this kind of ba-ba-dooby-dee-ba-dooby kind of theme going on. Those kinds of lines. It's sort of a natural part of my vocabulary. One of the things I tried to do is use a little bit, not too many times, but a little bit of my sort of what you might think of as a bebop vocabulary, this sort of triplet style. One little spot in there where it went from B flat, ba-da, boop, sorry, ba-da, boop, ba-bum. right? So I went, something like this, maybe. Oh, I think I don't remember exactly what I did, but those kinds of ideas. So we're trying to make the arpeggios be a little more as musical as we can make them, But even if we just do that, if it's nice and groovy and in time, it can sound wonderful. So that's okay too. Then there's a section where it got a little funkier. It was kind of a C sharp minor place where it stayed in one tonality, even though the chords were moving around. It was sort of in one tonality for a longer period of time, and I took advantage of that to kind of generate a little bit of energy. And I played these kind of fourthy pentatonic lines, And every once in a while I try and get a little bluesy as well, because I wanted to make sure that it didn't sound, too mechanical or too machine-like, So I tried to grease it up a little bit in that section. Well, then also the triad pairs, sometimes when you see, like, let's say you say D over, or C with D in the bass, which featured in this song, I might play like that, and then it went to, basically what it said was E flat with a B flat triad with E flat in the bass, and I kind of see that as a C minor sound. So I might play those types of sounds, like a C major type sound, that's a Lydian type thing where you play two major triads a whole step apart. You get a kind of Lydian sound. And oh, by the way, any major type chord was treated as more of a Lydian sound rather than a tonic sound, because perhaps the first E major was kind of the tonic, and then every other major type sound I would treat it as Lydian because it appealed to my ear, and it also made it a little easier to connect. So B flat major 7 to A minor 7, or E major to B flat major. If I made it Lydian, I had an E in common, and I could play, those types of things. You're looking for common tones in between these somewhat random chord events, and that's another part of trying to connect it and play melodically. All right, I hope that was helpful. Enjoy the track, and thank you very much for checking it out.